Hello, hi everybody. I'm Simran and I wanted to share a little bit about what it was like to make my video Dadima. I wanted to show you kind of what I see on a daily basis. This laptop is what I worked on for the entirety of the project. And what better way to show you guys than an inside look. Making Datima was a lot harder than I expected. There were a lot of twists and turns in my process. It was definitely non-linear. My computer is full of footage that I didn't end up using, whether that be from the shoot day itself, because I thought I sounded really bad, or from my B-roll that I shot myself. There were directions that I thought I wanted to go in that I didn't end up using. And it was really challenging for me. One of the most challenging aspects of this project for me has been centered around voice. I guess who was speaking, whether it would be from me or from Dadima herself. Yeah. But also voice as in artistic voice. This was the first project I've ever done of my own creation. And to be able to take ownership of what I wanted proved quite a challenge. I think a lot of young singers fall into this trap. At least I hope I'm not alone. This trap of not understanding that we have artistic voices as well. I think we look up to our coaches, our conductors, our teachers, our mentors, as if they have all the answers. And at least for me, I've often discounted how I feel and what I have to say. I think the biggest thing that I can take away from this project is that I feel that I'm starting to trust my own artistic voice. By putting in this work, by collaborating with amazing people, by journaling, and just by creating, I have honed a voice that I didn't have before. And that's been a super precious experience. Honestly, making things by yourself or making things of your own creation is hard. People don't really tell you this. I cried many nights, many nights. Like, how many boxes of tissues do you think I went through?
Boxes, maybe only two, but all of the two boxes.
In our house.
All of them.
I guess all of that to say, trust the process. Even though the process may lead you to be purchasing more tissues than you anticipated. I feel like I've talked enough. I'm going to say goodbye. But thank you guys so much for joining me as I discussed stuff, things, thoughts. See you guys soon.
Good morning. So the first thing that I do on a typical day in the Civic Engagement Quartet is boil water for some tea. The project that I did this fall, Something's Coming, that video project, was really inspired by a lot of what I had seen other artists doing, like kind of over the summer and in the early days of the pandemic, let's say. Artists from more like popular music, let's say. I saw some people that I like really respected, like Miley Cyrus and Machine Gun Kelly, really digging into their creativity, really making music that was different than, let's say, what they were famous for or what had built their career. And they were really making music that was important to them, that was maybe stuff they grew up with or were inspired by. And I think it just led to a huge outpouring of like authentic creativity. And so when we started developing our projects, it was really important to me to, I guess, do something similar, to make a project that was connected to me, not just the work that I have done or the work that I've been successful with. And I think that happened. It was a really cool process to think of, I guess, to really think of myself as an artist first and performer second. So I'm about to coach with the incredible Kim Bartzak, and this is the setup here. So because we're doing everything from home, everything at a distance, we've got the computer, which is obviously going to run Zoom. I have a mic, an external microphone, so we can get a little higher audio fidelity to make the coachings more effective. And we have a ring light, and I swear this isn't just for vanity. This is so Kim can actually see me and see my expression and see what I'm doing and comment on that, hold me accountable to actually communicating the music well and not have my face just overshadowed by shadows of my hair and everything. Yeah, and then we've got music, piano, etc. here, but actually Kim creates tracks and we work with those because there's too much delay over Zoom. So we work with tracks, and so we've got this Bluetooth speaker here, and that's what we plug in and play. And we are going to be working on some Lehar today for one of our upcoming projects in the quartet. I discovered about my artistic process that I really like process, actually. I mean, performing is amazing, and performing is something I think as artists we all look forward to and that we all enjoy, and I mean, I guess at the worst of times, sometimes suffer through. But I really love process. I love rehearsal. I love planning. I love learning repertoire. And so to get to make a video project like this, it was really just an embrace of process, of the thing I love the most, of from the ground up, like what are we doing? How are we doing it? When? All the way to the finished, published video. I got to be involved in all of that rather than, other minds thinking, putting together things, directing, musical directing, set, costumes, and then I'm just coming in and singing. And this, I had a hand in everything. Everything that appeared on the screen was in some ways planned or developed or through collaboration, but still with me. Because this is a pandemic, because we are working inside, we don't get that same division of, work-life balance. I like to kind of change things up and like segment my day a little bit. So I do, I have that music room where I do my the music coachings and where I do the singing and that kind of practicing. And then I've repurposed a spare bedroom here to be the place where I take we do the meetings and do like the panelist discussions and that kind of stuff that we do as part of the Civic Engagement Quartet. So this is the setup, not very high tech, but we get a little bit of natural light, which is nice. The music room doesn't get as much natural light, so I like something that makes it where I can feel the sun on my face. And we just set up a little tiny desk with a computer and a chair and a neutral background. And this is where we do the Zoom meetings. And I'm about to jump into one. We're having a panelist discussion, continuing our topic about how does opera engage with community? What is community engagement? What's the future for opera in that way? I think my advice to other people looking to, develop themselves as a creator or find their sort of inner artistic motivation would be, I guess to kind of ignore the surroundings. I think especially as classical musicians, we go through, it's so hard to be an opera singer. It just takes so much skill. And so we go through institutions to learn the athletic skills, the mental skills, the artistic skills to even be able to accomplish opera in any way effectively. And I think that's important. That has to happen because it is just so hard to do. But I think sometimes we can lose sort of that inner spark of why we were doing it, why we were singing. And then maybe in an effort to sound, more legato or more Italian or more like Fritz Wunderlich, if you're a tenor. You might even lose some of the quality of what is your voice, physically and like orally, what is your voice. And so I think in these times when when people are really looking for authentic, personal, individual, artistic projects, I think it just needs to be that. We have to go back to what are those songs that we started singing? What made us sing the first time? What made us go from not singing to singing? And look at that. And then go into opera. See what translates from that. In some ways, I think that this whole pandemic is a little bit refreshing in a way. And hear me out. I mean that all of a sudden there was nothing to audition for and no upcoming shows. So there was this moment, I think, for me, and I think for a lot of other artists and singers, where it was really interesting to see what are we still singing? What am I practicing? What kind of music am I making when I no longer have to? When nobody's waiting to hear something from me, and I'm just singing for me. And so I think that's the kind of stuff, that kind of, I don't know, almost purging, reconnecting, that I think is really valuable when you're going to undertake a creative process like the videos we made in the quartet. Is you've got to find something internal, something really real, something fundamental and foundational to spur on all that work.
Song. My name is Micah Schroeder, and I am one of the members of Pacific Opera Victoria's Civic Engagement Quartet. Something that was really new to me was being the boss of everything, and not only creatively, but also administratively and logistically. It was actually a big challenge for me to figure out who was going to record my material, where was I going to book it, what kind of space was I going to use, how much was it going to cost. Trying to figure out a budget for the project and have that be approved by the company as well. That was really new to me. To be honest, quite stressful, but I ended up figuring it all out. And what was eye-opening was how many skills and tools I actually had in organization and in creative license and in creative management that I didn't really know that I had access to. So that was kind of cool and actually quite empowering. And along those lines, also finding this balance between having instincts about a project and then following them and trusting them and realizing that, I actually have something cool to say. In opera, we don't always have that opportunity. Normally, when we create projects, we're in collaboration with many other musicians and many other singers. And because we're bringing the work to life from the page and the score, we're not really the boss in a certain sense. So that was a really cool process to be able to have an idea and then see it through and realize that there is actually a lot inside of me, a creative eye, a creative perspective that I didn't totally know that I had or I hadn't accessed in that way in a really long time. And it has sort of shifted my perspective in opera to how can I bring all of that with me to all of the projects that I approach, whether they be a full-length work, a recital, engaging with a particular community, as a student, as a mentor, all of these things. Well, my project came from telling the story of my grandmother in Germany and how she left her culture behind. So one of the first things that I consulted to tell her story was these old recordings that my brother had made a few months before she died, actually. And so when I listened to those, there was about 2 or 3 hours of footage. There were a few moments that really stuck out to me. And I thought, okay, I think there are some gems in here and some pieces of the story that I can really tell.
Unless during the war, maybe I avoided getting in certain problems because I had a guardian angel. How do I know? I survived a lot, other people didn't.
I think what I discovered is that I really do have a point of view, and that often, if I follow my first instinct, it actually can really take me somewhere. There were a lot of times when I would have an instinct about my project, not fully, without having a full picture realized about why I would do that, But I found that if I just followed it and kept asking questions, somehow along the way I would discover something really juicy or really exciting. And what that has taught me is that there's something inside of me that I can actually deeply trust. I think that's everything.